There's a moment in every person's life when they realize financial peace has nothing to do with how much money they have and everything to do with the beliefs they've carried since childhood. Beliefs that were whispered, repeated, absorbed, and never questioned. And that's why, before we go any further, I want you to do something simple but revealing. Write in the comments the phrase about money or peace you heard most often while growing up. Maybe it was, money doesn't solve everything. Or, we can't risk losing what we have. Or, peace comes only when everything is under control. Whatever it was, put it into words. Because once your belief is written down, you can finally see the script that has been guiding your financial emotions your whole life. Most people believe their stress comes from circumstances, bills, responsibilities, expectations, uncertainty.
But Jewish wisdom teaches something far deeper. Financial peace is not an external situation. It is an internal structure. A person with inner order can handle outer chaos. A person with inner chaos will crumble even in times of stability. Peace in Hebrew is shalom, a word rooted in shalem, meaning wholeness, not quiet, not perfection, wholeness. A person who is whole within themselves experiences peace even before their bank account reflects it. This alone should shake you, because it means you may have been chasing the wrong thing. You weren't really searching for more money. You were searching for more space inside yourself, more calm, more clarity, more ground to stand on. And the moment you understand this, everything begins to shift. I remember sitting with an old teacher who once told me, people think financial peace comes when life stops demanding so much of them.
But life always demands. Peace comes when your spirit stops shaking. At the time, I didn't fully understand. I thought peace required the world to calm down, but the world rarely does. Instead, he explained that Jewish tradition offers spiritual tools, ancient, practical, quietly powerful, that teach a person to build peace from the inside out. Tools that align the heart, steady the mind, and clear the space where wisdom can finally enter. And this is where our journey begins today. Not with money itself, but with the spiritual architecture behind it. For centuries, these teachings have guided households through droughts, wars, migrations, collapses, and rebuilding. They were never about becoming wealthy. They were about becoming grounded. Because grounded people make wiser choices. They avoid chaos. They create stability. They recognize opportunities.
They respond to life instead of reacting to it. And eventually, peace turns into prosperity. But before we explore the 7 life lessons capable of reshaping your relationship with money forever, something important must be understood. These lessons do not work in isolation. They are stones in a path, each dependent on the others. And the first stone, the foundation upon which the rest of the journey stands, is the spiritual reframing that reveals what financial peace truly is and what it has never been. Financial peace begins long before money enters your hands. It begins in the unseen realm, the world of beliefs, emotions, identity, and spiritual anchoring. Jewish wisdom teaches that peace is not the absence of problems, it is the presence of order. And financial peace specifically is the order that forms when your inner world stops contradicting itself.
You may not have realized this, but the tension you felt around money wasn't caused by your circumstances. It was caused by the war between your desires and your beliefs, your hopes and your fears, your ambitions and your inherited narratives. To understand this, imagine 2 people facing the same financial difficulty. One feels panic, the other feels clarity. Same situation, different inner world. My ancestors understood this difference intimately. They faced scarcity, displacement, and uncertainty many times across history. Yet one phrase carried them through generation after generation. Where there is inner order, there is outer blessing. They believed that divine assistance aligns with those who first align themselves. I remember the story of an elder in my family, my great-uncle David, who lived through a financial collapse that nearly wiped out everything he had built.
While others spiraled into fear, he paused, he prayed, he recentered, and he repeated a simple truth. Peace is not found in the numbers, but in the heart that reads them. Days later, while everyone else rushed to make panicked decisions, he saw an opening no one else noticed, not out of luck, but out of clarity. That opening became the breakthrough that saved him. His outer world changed only after his inner world settled.
This is the foundation of Jewish financial wisdom. Money amplifies whatever state you are already in. If you are anxious, more money creates deeper anxiety. If you are grounded, more money creates deeper opportunity. Peace is not something money brings. Peace is something that allows money to flow properly. This reframing is essential because many people chase financial peace through external means, more income, more savings, more control, without realizing that financial chaos often follows them even as their circumstances improve. Why? Because peace cannot be outsourced. It must be cultivated. This leads us to a powerful contrast. Scarcity-driven living says, I must fix everything outside before I can rest inside. Spiritually anchored living says, when I rest inside, I make wiser moves outside. Scarcity looks outward. Peace looks inward. Scarcity seeks control. Peace seeks alignment. Scarcity tightens the heart. Peace expands it. Once this foundation settles, a surprising truth becomes clear. Financial peace is not something you someday reach. It is something you begin practicing now, even in imperfect circumstances.
And this practice starts with a lesson so important, so foundational, that without it, none of the others can take root. Because the first step toward financial peace is not action, it is internal alignment. The moment your heart, mind, and intention stop fighting each other and begin speaking the same language. Financial peace does not begin with a budget, a plan, or even discipline. It begins with something far more intimate, inner alignment. Jewish wisdom teaches that the outer world is a mirror of the inner world. If there is chaos inside, chaos will find you outside. If your beliefs, emotions, and intentions pull in different directions, life itself begins to wobble around you. But when your inner world becomes unified, when your heart, mind, and purpose align, peace begins to take shape long before results appear. There is a Hebrew word that captures this beautifully, kavanah.
It means focused intention, the act of pointing your inner compass in a single, deliberate direction. Without kavanah, every decision becomes foggy. With it, even the smallest step becomes powerful. Many people make financial choices from a place of fear, while simultaneously dreaming of stability. That contradiction splits their energy, and split energy cannot create calm. I once knew a man who lived in constant financial tension. He worked tirelessly, but his anxiety about money colored everything he did. His effort was high, but his alignment was non-existent. One day, in a conversation he didn't expect to be life-changing, someone asked him, "What do you actually want? Peace or control?" The question stunned him. He had been chasing control, believing it would give him peace, but control only fed his fear. For the first time in years, he paused. He breathed. He acknowledged his desire for a calmer, steadier life. That simple moment of inner honesty shifted his energy so dramatically that within days he began making decisions with clarity rather than panic, and his life responded. Jewish mystics warn that when the inner world is divided, even blessings cannot hold. They slip through the cracks of a restless mind. This is why the first step toward financial peace is not fixing circumstances. It is fixing the place from which you approach them. When your internal state is frantic, even logical choices become clouded. When your internal state is calm, even difficult decisions become manageable. There's an old teaching that says, a person cannot hold peace if they are at war with themselves. And this war is subtle. It shows up as wanting abundance, but believing you don't deserve it. Wanting stability, but repeating the idea that life is always uncertain. Wanting clarity, but drowning in self-doubt. These contradictions create an emotional storm that blocks peace from entering. Here's the most surprising part. Jewish tradition teaches that 3 days of inner disorder can undo weeks of outer progress. Not because anything magical happens, but because when your inner world loses alignment, your choices lose consistency, your clarity falters, your intuition dulls, peace slips away. So ask yourself now, where inside you is there conflict? What belief contradicts your desire for financial peace? What emotion pulls against your goals? What old story tightens your heart every time you think about money? Identifying these tensions is not a weakness, it is liberation. Because once you unlock inner alignment, something extraordinary happens. You gain access to the second life lesson, a principle so powerful and so misunderstood that it reshapes the way you measure both wealth and peace. There is a teaching in the Talmud that at first sounds simple, almost gentle, but carries the force of a spiritual earthquake. Who is rich? The one who rejoices in their portion. Many misunderstood this as a call to settle, to shrink, to stop reaching. But in Jewish wisdom, this teaching is not about limitation. It is about literation. It reveals the second life lesson for financial peace, the sacred law of enoughness. Enoughness is not complacency. It is clarity. It is the ability to stand in your life and say, what I have is real. What I have is meaningful. What I have is a foundation, not a failure. Peace cannot enter a heart that constantly compares its life to another's. Nor can it enter a heart that believes happiness begins only at the next milestone. Enoughness is the art of recognizing sufficiency while staying open to expansion. It is the balance between gratitude and growth. To understand this, imagine a vessel. If the vessel is cracked by dissatisfaction, no amount of abundance can fill it. Everything leaks. But if the vessel is whole, intact, steady, appreciative, it can receive, hold, and grow what enters. Shalom, peace, is tied to shalem, wholeness. Financial peace begins when the vessel becomes whole enough to hold blessing without collapsing under its weight. I remember a woman who spent years chasing a version of stability that always seemed one step away. No matter how much she earned, she felt behind. No matter how much she saved, it felt insufficient. Her life was a battlefield of almost. One day, she spoke to a rabbi who listened quietly before asking, "If you cannot celebrate this moment, what makes you think you will celebrate the next one?" She was stunned. She thought celebration came after achievement, not before it. But the rabbi explained that celebration is what enlarges the vessel. Gratitude is what strengthens it. Enoughness is what prepares it. This teaching becomes even more powerful when you look deeper. Peace does not emerge from the idea that I have everything, but from the belief that I have enough to begin, enough clarity to act, enough strength to take the next step, enough wisdom for this moment, enough faith for what's unfolding. Enoughness is not about lowering the bar. It's about removing the bar from your neck. But here is the danger. When people misunderstand enoughness, they fall into a trap of shrinking their dreams.
Jewish wisdom never asks you to shrink. It asks you to anchor. Contentment is not the enemy of ambition. Discontent is. Discontent blurs your vision. Discontent rushes decisions. Discontent convinces you that peace will arrive only when everything is perfect. But perfection is not peace. Presence is. So ask yourself, where are you waiting for more before allowing yourself to feel safe? Where are you postponing peace for a future version of your life that may never come? Where are you refusing to rejoice in the foundation you already possess? Because once enoughness settles in your spirit, you are ready for the next essential lesson, one that reveals how your very words can either invite peace into your life or shut the door quietly before it ever has a chance to enter. The third lesson, and perhaps the most misunderstood, is this.
Your words determine the emotional climate of your financial life. Most people think they are describing their situation when they speak about money, but spiritually, they are creating it. Jewish wisdom teaches that words are not expressions, they are forces. They do not simply reflect your inner world, they shape it. They program your nervous system. They sculpt your expectations. They invite peace or they invite panic. Think of the phrases people casually repeat. Money stresses me out. I'll never get ahead. I'm terrible with finances. Something always goes wrong. These aren't comments. They are instructions, given not to the world, but to your own mind. When you say, money overwhelms me, you are telling your brain to brace for overwhelm. When you say, I never catch a break, you are telling your awareness to filter out opportunities.
I'm just not good with money. You're declaring identity, not opinion, and identity becomes reality.
Jewish tradition treats speech with sacred caution for this reason. The world was created with words, "Let there be light," and light appeared. If the divine shapes reality through speech, then your small world, your daily world, your financial world, is shaped through your speech as well. Not magically, but psychologically and spiritually. Your words create inner atmosphere, and your atmosphere determines whether peace can grow. I once met a man named Daniel who lived in a constant state of financial anxiety. When we spoke, I noticed a pattern. Nearly every sentence he said about money carried fear or cynicism. "It never lasts. Something always comes to take it away. I don't trust any of this." These weren't observations. They were prophecies he had been reciting for years, and unsurprisingly, his financial life mirrored exactly what he declared. When he finally understood this, he made a commitment to change his language, not through forced positivity, but through intentional truth. He began saying, "I can learn. I can grow. I can become stable. I'm building peace one step at a time." Slowly, his emotional landscape softened. Decisions became easier. Clarity increased. And his financial situation began shifting, not overnight, but unmistakably. This is the quiet power of words. They tilt your inner world either toward calm or toward chaos. The danger is that most people speak their fears more often than their intentions. Fear-driven speech multiplies anxiety, and anxiety ruins clarity. And without clarity, peace cannot survive.
Your language is either watering peace or drowning it. So ask yourself, what tone dominates the way you speak about money? Do you narrate your life as a victim, as someone overwhelmed, as someone waiting for disaster, or as someone becoming grounded, becoming wiser, becoming whole? Because peace enters through the doorway of speech. If your words tremble, peace trembles. If your words steady, peace steadies. And yet, even the most intentional speech cannot stand alone. Because peace is not created by language only, it is created by the choices that follow. Which brings us to the next lesson. The truth that calm is not found in stillness, but in movement. Most people believe that financial peace comes from stopping risk, stopping movement, stopping decisions, until everything feels safe and clear. But Jewish wisdom teaches the opposite. Peace is created through movement, not stillness. Stillness, when rooted in fear, is not calm. It is paralysis. And paralysis is the enemy of peace. A life that does not move cannot stabilize. It can only stagnate. There is a sacred principle in Judaism called hishtadlut, the practice of taking necessary, meaningful action before expecting divine assistance. It does not demand hustle or urgency. It does not expect perfection. It simply requires motion, a step, a gesture, a signal to the universe that you are participating in the unfolding of your own peace. Without that movement, even the most powerful prayers remain suspended, waiting for you to open the door. Many people confuse waiting with preparing. They say, "I'm just being cautious," but their caution is actually fear wearing a mask. They say, "I'm waiting for clarity," but clarity often arrives only after they move. Inaction feels safe, but it quietly multiplies anxiety. When you avoid decisions, they grow sharper. When you delay responsibility, it grows heavier. Movement, small, deliberate movement, breaks this cycle. I once knew a woman named Miriam who lived for years in financial overwhelm. Her bills piled up, not because she lacked the ability to pay them, but because she froze each time she faced them. Her fear created chaos, and the chaos deepened her fear. One day, her mentor gave her a single instruction. Do one thing today, just one, something tiny. So she organized one drawer. Then the next day, she made one phone call. The next day, she deleted 5 emails. None of these actions were dramatic, yet within a week she felt a shift. Her mind sharper, her breathing steadier, her sense of control returning. Motion restored peace, where stillness had suffocated it. Modern psychology echoes this ancient insight. Studies show that micro-actions reduce stress, restore cognitive clarity, and increase emotional stability.
Motion grounds the mind. Inaction amplifies fear. When you move, even a little, your brain receives a signal that you are capable. When you stay frozen, your brain interprets your stillness as danger. This is why the spiritual path to financial peace includes movement. Not rushing, not panicking, not doing everything at once, but choosing a direction and honoring it with consistent steps. Each step, no matter how small, steadies the heart. Each step makes room for peace to grow. So ask yourself, where in your life have you mistaken immobility for wisdom? Where have you been waiting for confidence instead of building it? Where has the fear of making the wrong move prevented you from making any move at all?
These are the places where peace has been quietly blocked. Because once you begin to move, even gently, your inner world begins to settle. And as movement opens the door to peace, two ancient forces rise to support you: gratitude and generosity, the stabilizers that keep peace from slipping away the moment life shifts. Gratitude and generosity are often spoken of as virtues, but in Jewish wisdom they are something deeper, more structural. They are stabilizers of the soul. When practiced with intention, they steady your inner world, soften anxiety, and create the emotional foundation required for financial peace. Without them, even abundance feels fragile. With them, even challenge feels manageable. Let's begin with gratitude, hakarat hatov, the practice of recognizing the good. Gratitude is not blind optimism. It is not pretending everything is fine.
Gratitude is spiritual accuracy, the ability to see what is real instead of being consumed by what is missing. When you recognize the good already present in your life, you quiet the part of your mind that believes peace exists only in the next milestone. Gratitude grounds you in the moment instead of chaining you to imagined futures. And a grounded heart is a peaceful heart. But gratitude alone cannot sustain peace. It prepares the ground. Generosity fortifies it. Generosity, tzedakah, is not charity. It is justice, balance, spiritual alignment. When you give, you declare that money is not your master, but your tool. You declare that fear does not govern your decisions. You declare that you participate in the flow of abundance rather than restrict it. Generosity builds confidence, not the loud kind, but the quiet kind that whispers, "I have enough to share. I trust that more will come."
I once knew a man named Yosef, whose finances, though sufficient, always felt shaky. He saved everything he earned, clinging tightly, afraid of losing even a little. His fear made him rigid, and rigidity made him anxious. One day an elder told him, "Your hands are closed. Even blessings cannot enter closed hands." So Yosef made a small decision. He would give a tiny amount each week, even if it scared him. The first few times his stomach tightened, but slowly something remarkable happened. His fear softened, his confidence grew. He felt less threatened by life, and as his inner world relaxed, his financial decisions improved. His peace expanded long before his income did. Gratitude softens the heart. Generosity strengthens it. Modern research reflects what ancient wisdom has taught for centuries. People who practice gratitude experience lower stress, clearer thinking, and greater emotional resilience. Those who practice generosity report higher stability, better decision-making, and deeper relationships, all elements that contribute directly to financial peace. So how do you apply these practices? Start with a simple ritual. Each morning, name 3 specific things you are grateful for. Not vague categories, specific details. Then choose one act of generosity each week. It can be financial, but it doesn't have to be. It can be time, encouragement, knowledge, or kindness. Peace grows through movement, not magnitude. Together, gratitude and generosity form emotional balance. One opens your heart, the other anchors it. And once these stabilizers take root, the next lesson reveals itself naturally, because peace cannot survive without structure. It needs discipline, routine, and sacred order. If gratitude and generosity stabilizes the heart, discipline stabilizes the life around it. Jewish wisdom teaches that peace does not grow in chaos, it grows in order. Not rigid, suffocating order, but sacred structure, musar, the discipline that holds your intentions in place long enough for them to bear fruit. Without discipline,
even the most powerful insights dissolve into wishful thinking. With discipline, even small intentions evolve into lasting transformation. Discipline is not punishment. It is not harshness. It is not the strict perfectionism many people associate with the word. Discipline, in its spiritual essence, is alignment in action, the ability to do what your peace requires, even when your feelings fluctuate. Feelings are waves. Discipline is shoreline. It gives the waves a place to land.
I once knew a family who earned enough to live comfortably, yet they were always overwhelmed. Bills lost in piles, tasks postponed, decisions delayed, responsibilities scattered. Money wasn't the issue, disorder was. Their anxiety grew not because they lacked resources, but because they lacked rhythm. One evening, during a moment of exhaustion, they sought guidance from a rabbi. He didn't tell them to earn more or cut expenses. Instead, he said, "Bring order, and peace will follow." That week, they created small routines, sorting paperwork every Sunday, reviewing expenses every Friday afternoon, assigning roles for tasks. None of these actions were dramatic, but within a month, their home felt different, quieter, calmer, steadier. Peace entered through the doorway of structure. This is the spiritual principle. Discipline creates containers for peace. Without containers, peace spills. Without rhythm, anxiety grows. Without routine, clarity fades. Structure is not the opposite of freedom. It is the foundation of it. Consider how nature functions. Days follow nights. Seasons follow seasons. Tides follow cycles. Everything stable has pattern. Everything peaceful has rhythm. Why would your financial life be any different? But discipline also requires gentleness. Not the harsh discipline that shames, but the kind that supports. The kind that says, I honor my future self enough to create habits that make their life easier. It's an act of self-respect. It's an act of spiritual commitment. Discipline is the vessel that protects the peace you've been building through alignment, enoughness, wise speech, movement, gratitude, and generosity. So ask yourself, where is the disorder that steals your peace? Is it your spending, your routines, your home, your digital life?
Your time management, your emotional boundaries? Peace leaks out through every opening you leave unattended. You don't need to overhaul everything. You need one sacred structure at a time, a ritual, a rhythm, a gentle, steady habit that supports your inner world instead of sabotaging it. And once this structure begins forming, something profound becomes possible, something that brings all the lessons together and anchors them into your identity. Because ultimately, financial peace is not a practice alone. It is a person you become. And that understanding leads us into the final synthesis. At the deepest level of Jewish wisdom, financial peace is not a condition you achieve. It is an identity you grow into. Every lesson we've walked through so far, alignment, enoughness, wise speech, movement, gratitude, generosity, discipline, feeds into a single realization.
You cannot live peacefully with money until you become a person who carries peace within themselves. Peace is not an outcome. Peace is a character. This is why two people can have identical financial situations, yet experience completely different internal worlds. One feels grounded, capable, and steady. The other feels overwhelmed, anxious, and unstable. Their circumstances may be the same, but their identities are not. Your identity determines not only how you interpret money, but how you hold it, how you release it, how you save it, how you respond to it. Jewish philosophy has a profound teaching. The world you see is the world you are, meaning that your inner state colors your outer experience. A fearful person sees risk everywhere. A grateful person sees possibility everywhere. A disciplined person sees solutions. A restless person sees problems.
Peace is not passive. It actively shapes perception. This is why shifting your identity is the final and most transformational step. You cannot speak peace, act peacefully, or think peacefully if deep inside you still identify as someone who struggles with money, or someone who never gets ahead, or someone who isn't good at this. Those are not observations. They are self-appointed titles, and titles become cages. But identity can be rewritten. Jewish tradition emphasizes the power of speech, repetition, and practice to reshape the inner self. The mystics say you become what you repeatedly declare. And science agrees. Neural pathways rewire through consistent reinforcement. So here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, speak from the identity you are choosing, not the identity you are leaving. 7 days is not symbolic. It represents the full cycle of spiritual completion.
Each morning, choose a statement that reflects the version of you who lives with financial peace. It could be, I am someone who handles money with clarity. I am a person who brings calm into my decisions. I am someone who grows wiser with every choice. I am building a peaceful and grounded life. Say it aloud. Let your own voice plant the seed. Because when the identity shifts, everything else follows. Choices become easier. Habits become lighter. Fear loses its grip. The world looks less threatening and more navigable. Peace becomes not an effort, but an atmosphere. And as these 7 life lessons settle into you, they begin forming a new wholeness, a new shalom, where money is no longer an enemy or a source of turbulence, but a partner in your growth.
With the identity awakened and the path laid out, all that remains is to seal this journey with blessing, remembrance, and a call to extend peace outward. You've walked through a journey older than memory, one carried through generations, whispered across dining tables, embedded in prayers, woven into the quiet resilience of a people who learned to find peace even when the world around them was uncertain. And now, as we reach the final moment of this path, something becomes beautifully clear. Financial peace is not a distant destination. It is a rhythm you learn, a lens you adopt, and a presence you carry into every decision. Think of what you've absorbed. You learned that inner alignment is the birthplace of financial calm. You discovered the sacred law of enoughness, where gratitude and openness meet.
You awaken to the power of speech, realizing your words can steady or shatter your peace. You understood that movement, not stagnation, restores clarity and dissolves fear. You practiced gratitude and generosity, stabilizing your emotional foundation. You embraced discipline, creating sacred structure for peace to live within. And finally, you stepped into the truth of identity, recognizing that peace is something you become, not something you wait for. Now, your task is no longer to learn these lessons, but to live them. Not perfectly, but consistently. Not all at once, but one breath at a time. Financial peace does not arrive with a sudden miracle. It grows with every small alignment, every conscious choice, every moment you choose calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, grounding over fear.
Jewish wisdom has always taught that peace is a divine quality, something bestowed, but also something cultivated. And so, before we close, I want to offer you the ancient blessing spoken for thousands of years, a blessing for peace, for stability, for clarity, and for protection as you walk forward with a steadier heart. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he lift his countenance upon you and grant you peace. Let those words settle over your life like a soft covering, over your finances, over your home, over your decisions, over the parts of you still learning how to breathe calmly in moments of uncertainty. Peace is not a shield that prevents challenges. It is the strength that guides you through them. Before we end, I want to ask you for something symbolic, an act that completes the cycle we've created here.
Share this video with 3 people who need financial peace. Not because it helps the channel, but because it helps them. Someone out there is drowning quietly behind a calm face. Someone is carrying a fear they've never spoken. Someone is holding the belief that financial chaos is their destiny. And your gesture might be the moment they finally breathe. Carry these lessons into your mornings. Carry them into your spending, your saving, your conversations, your silence. Let them shape the person you are becoming. Because you are not just seeking financial peace anymore. You are walking in it.